Welcome to the Coast Podcast. I'm Emily, a virtual assistant agency owner who left Amazon in 2019 to build my dream.
And I'm Whitney, a freelance writer and communications consultant who never felt at home in a cube farm.
We didn't see many people paving their own ways like we decided to, so we created this podcast to talk to others who were brave enough to pick a different path. Creatives, entrepreneurs, people doing their careers and their lives their way.
Join us as we learn from them, get inspired, and show you beautiful paths less traveled.
Not every road leads to the coast, but the ones that do come with a great view.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to The Coast. I am Whitney Popa. Emily is otherwise engaged in a recurring meeting, but that will change soon. So you just have me, but I have awesome guests, and they are Shannon and Christine, co-founders, co-owners of In Good Company, which is a collection of curated gifts for mothers. And I'm so excited to talk to them because we have so much in common. And I actually remember a few years ago filling out their questionnaire about even starting their company, which is something that is very thoughtful to do before starting a company that I never would have thought to do. And I want to dig into In Good Company and everything that brought you two together and your whole relationship from childhood that brought you here. And we're just so excited to have you. So welcome.
Thank you. We are so excited to be here. We love talking. So putting us in any situation where we can talk is always fun for us.
And we have lots of good stories to share. So excited to share some of those.
Because they know my husband. So I was just mentioning I'm not recording at home because I don't want to fight with him for the office today. And they that totally resonated with them. So we're already on a great stride. So can you tell us, In Good Company is such a great idea. And what's funny about it, and I told you guys before we started recording this too, I'm I have all these stories and then I get to the question at the end. That's just my whole MO. I'll keep it short though. So you both went to school with one of my sorority sisters who, ironically, we were having this conversation when we finally met in person last year. And I keep forgetting, she knows everybody around here. And I keep forgetting that people who came up through Catholic schools and then somehow ended up at the University of Idaho. It's this very odd trajectory. I just was at my cousin's baby shower 2 weeks ago. And then my other cousin's bridal shower. It's hard to keep them in my mind. And their best friend from childhood also knows this person, Amy, and was she's just connected to all these people that I'm connected to. And she went to school with you two, and she built me a postpartum kit. And so I was telling you, oh yeah, I had a friend who built me this postpartum kit. And then you mentioned her separately. And I was that's the friend who built me the postpartum kit. And then you built this awesome company. And you know her, and it was just all these weird cool parallels, where you know her, she's very passionate about postpartum kits. I hope that now she's your number one customer, but you created this to help mothers, first starting with one kit and then you grew it, or tell us about getting there and basically people like me who have Amy's in their life building them postpartum kits, and then people who don't and needing to fill this gap of Amy doesn't have to go to Walgreens and Target and all these places to put this stuff together for people because she has now.
Yeah, well, I can talk briefly about our products, and then Shannon, maybe you can talk a little bit about our birth story as a company. Shannon and I just have lots of ideas. And we knew that this was definitely a need for new moms to feel supported, to feel seen, to also have the products that they need. So yes, we We launched last year with 5 different collections. And each of these has kind of a different goal in mind. Maybe it's just a thoughtful gift from a girlfriend who lives across the country. Maybe it's the gift that your partner is giving you, quote unquote, the push present. Maybe it's the things you need that Amy gave to you that isn't really talked about and a little bit taboo. So yes, we launched with 5. We've added another box, which we can talk about later. And we have plans to continue to expand.
Yeah, I mean, we always wanted to like tell our little spiel. Like we've known each other for bajillions of years. It's kind of obnoxious at this point. Since grade school and then high school, although in grade school, Christine is convinced that we were not friends. And true story, up until my mom found an old yearbook entry from 7th grade. And I sent a photo to Christine and I said, "You signed my yearbook. We were friends." So
Christine, that's so neat.
I know. Luckily, she still loves me regardless of my just massive memory gaps. But yes.
But anyways, our paths just like have always crossed. And when we both worked at a high school together, we always, saw these other female entrepreneurs and we were like, we could do that. We should do that. But we just didn't know what that was. And so we would have these conversations like fairly frequently, honestly, every few months. And this went for years. And then after Christine had her daughter, we actually had like a formal meeting. Like she was at my house. We were like passing Joelle back and forth with our husbands, making breakfast. And we're talking about, what are those ideas? What do we want to do? And so we had a collection of ideas there. And then after I had my son, which was about a year later, we revisited that. And it just aligned perfectly. We had similar postpartum experiences. We were so passionate about being mothers. We felt that other mothers felt unsupported. And so that kind of translated into the business. And then from there, like, as you mentioned before, kind of the survey piece, we were like, okay, we have this idea. We think this is going to be a good thing. Is there buy-in? Is this really even a good idea? And so putting that out there into the community of mothers that we knew provided us with so much feedback, which helped completely determine like what those curated collections were going to be and like what those needs were that we could actually fill. So that was kind of our little birth story.
Yeah. And is that something you learned in like a business class at Gonzaga? Because I never took a business class, so I wouldn't even think to send a survey.
Well, we knew we wanted to do some market research. In terms of my background, I studied psychology at Gonzaga. I thought I wanted to be a clinical social worker, a therapist. And then later on in life, I did go back and get my MBA. So we knew we wanted to do some sort of...
Dang, like take a pause for that. Good for you.
Thank you. I love my graduation photo. I'm 6 months pregnant. So I love that photo. I'm just like busting out of the gown.
Yeah. Joelle was there. My mom got her master's when she was super pregnant with me. So we say I have a master's.
Nice. Yes. Yep. She walked across that stage with me for sure. She was loud and proud. She was a big baby and I had a nice big belly. So, so we knew we wanted to do some market research and we decided, we weren't gonna like blast it somewhere. We'd rather do individual reach outs. And I remember messaging you, Whitney. We had never met in person, but I thought, I told Shannon, this is reaching, but I'm just going to also message Whitney. And I feel like she would be someone who'd fill this out. So we actually gathered hundreds of responses, which did, align, but also tweak what we ended up launching.
And I will say that when you start having those conversations with other women, I mean, we were not denied by one person. And we did reach out to people that we didn't necessarily know, but we had mutual relationships or connections with. And I think that's the whole point, is that these shared experiences are shared. And so when you open a conversation with like, hey, I'm really trying to support women postpartum and et cetera, moms are like, yes, women need that. I need that. And so, there were such positive conversations coming out of there that when we did launch, we felt like we already had this like amazing support system behind us that were like, rah, this is amazing. And we helped curate those collections, which is totally true.
How did it tweak?
For example, we were wondering about beauty products, and if that is something that people were gifted and wanted. I can tell you that my mom tried to give me some beauty products, but at the time I was just not in a space to be, doing that. Although it's super sweet gesture, and a year later I started using those. But that's one example of where that ranked super low for people as something I received and used and wanted / needed. So that was one that sticks out to me in particular.
For me, it was price point. I think before we had kind of reached out to our vendors and talked with all these women-owned businesses, it was like, what's the sweet spot here? And can we hit multiple different price points and actually make collections within that range? And so I think that was also a really great determinator, is saying like, hey, how much would you spend on this? Or what's reasonable for this? And, getting some feedback there as well.
Yeah. That's so cool. And like my initial thought when I was hearing you talk about the market research is my experience, which maybe you saw part of, Christine, and why you felt comfortable reaching out to me, because I am pretty honest about my motherhood experience. And I try to relate to other women that way, because I felt super isolated when I had my son. And I felt like nobody told me the truth. And what are they going to do? Text me and be like, this is the most isolating, awful, and that might not be their experience, to be fair. But what I found is like, women don't seem, for all the sharing that we don't seem to proactively share that postpartum experience. Yes. Not only because it's taboo, but like when you're having all these behind closed doors messaging market research conversations, people are like hungry and eager to have that conversation, but outwardly they don't feel safe. And this could just be me projecting, saying I was fine to speak to it, but I wasn't going to talk about it every day and be like, again, I'm just so isolated. Like that's a public forum. I have my people that I'll reach out to once in a while, but I remember sitting in the house with this baby on me and looking out the window longingly. Like Roz was home maybe 2 days. He had just started at his new job. I don't know if he even had 2 days. And I was in the house by myself with this infant, with my body secreting all sorts of things. And looking out the window, like, why don't I get to be outside? And not knowing, like, what to do, what my boobs were doing. And, I can't even get into it. Like, when I had my daughter, I couldn't even change my own diaper without being interrupted all the time, So there's so much that I think you're really solving for. But my initial reaction is a little bit of, like, sadness that I hope your product and your company is helping to change, like, and make it pretty and normal to talk about these experiences and celebrate each other, even like with a little gift that shows I get it and I'm thinking about you and I'm opening the door to conversation of like, if you just want to say, hey, I'm covered in shit and spit up today. And I wish I could get off the couch, but instead I'm watching all of Friday Night Lights from the beginning again, because that is what I did.
Mine was Scandal. I hit Scandal from top to bottom. But yeah, I mean, to your point, like, this is just totally transparent. I had no clue I was going to bleed for that long. Like, no one even told me, no doctor told me, no friend told me. Like, I had no idea what was actually going to happen to my body. And again, I know it's different for everyone, but even, I did have a really good friend who had bought me some supplies beforehand that has 2 kids and was like, you're going to need these. But there was still really no conversation. And that's just the physical stuff that you're going through. And then, my gosh, add the layer of mental and emotional challenges and stress that you're put under. It's just so overwhelming. And then you go on social media and you see, super fit mom that's got her 6-pack back 4 days after she just had a baby and she's on a walk in the yard. And I'm like, I'm still sleeping on the couch. I slept on the couch for literally 3 weeks, and that's just not real. And that's what so many women see. And so you're hoping to shift that conversation to say, like, it's okay not to be that. Most women are not that. And maybe under, Misfit Outside's super cute little outfit, she's got double diapers on and, breast pads out because she's leaking. And she probably made it like just for the photo and then went back inside. But like, that's not on the picture.
I think in relation to your sentiment, Whitney, about feeling isolated and alone, that's why we named it In Good Company, because we feel that there are all of these people around new moms that try and with varying levels of success support that new mom. And so if we could create things based on our survey, based on our experiences that new moms actually need and actually want, then that community can feel confident in what they're giving the new mom. So that was part of it, is to remind, these new mothers, you are in good company. You have people around you who support you, who see you, whatnot. I would say for us, like, our box is being given at baby showers, which is like the popular way that they're gifted, brings me so much joy, because it's acknowledging that there's going to be this whole body transformation piece that has to happen in order to bring this new life into the world, and that it's perfectly acceptable for the mom to receive a gift at the baby shower.
Yes.
And for the mom to be recognized, celebrated, also cared for. And not in the way that social media portrays it, like, getting a pedicure while pregnant. Like, that's great and all. But what about, the somewhat dark depths of experiencing being in your body and in your mind and all of that when you're newly postpartum. So that's part of the philosophy behind our name, and in hopes that we're providing that reminder and that support, that you're not alone.
I love that. Yeah, and for I felt like I had a community, and I still felt so alone. So that's really helpful. You're reminding me that I need to send you to my cousin who's going to have a baby soon. I'm like, I remember writing in her card and being really uncomfortable at the shower, because in the card I'm like, it sucks, but it's like magical sometimes. And she was like, thanks for being honest. When, like, she's just opening up a stroller and really cute clothes, and that's it. And I kept trying to be like, I want to be real with you, but I don't want to scare you. And that's why I share as much as I'm sharing less now, because I just am so worn out by my kids. But that's a whole other thing. Like, we got to get the toddler moms some.
They need a box too. But I think you're so right. Like, there's a fine line with, you don't want to scare new moms, but you want to prepare new moms. And, if someone else isn't having that conversation, like, you can be that person, or, with that gift or with that box, like, maybe that's a checking point. Maybe that's that opens the door to that conversation. And just saying, like, I remember reaching out to someone that I went to grade school with, and this is before our company launched, and we had kids around the same time, and gosh, we hadn't talked in years. And I just was like, hey, like, I'm here in the middle of the night if you need to DM me something ridiculous, or like you just can't stop uncontrollably crying, or like whatever. And we did. We actually like developed this relationship. We hadn't talked in, 15 years, but we had this shared experience, and we're going through that together. That was really comforting. And, it just, like, that alone piece can be so daunting. And I think if you have a partner during that time, sometimes they don't know what to do, and they don't know, and not to fault them, but it's not their experience that they're going through. They're going through a very different experience from you. And so that can be a challenge in itself.
Yes. And a conversation for a whole other podcast.
Yeah, we'll save that one for a different time.
Yeah. They like, I mean, just, they know, but they will never, ever get it. Never. Even now, I mean, I'm almost like 3.5 years postpartum, and I'm still like working on getting my body where I want it to be. And mentally, it's still a huge challenge for me to be a mother. I had like an intuitive ask me once, like, do you find motherhood to be hard for you? And I was like, extremely. And I think I'm like, I come off as like a really good, engaged mom, but like the feeling of the weight of motherhood in so many different directions in our life right now, what we're working on, well, not what we're working on, what we're dealing with is a lot of noise pollution with these kids. So I have 2 young kids, and my husband and I are both only children, and the constant noise, the constant whining, the neediness, the Disney movies, it's just so much for me as an only child introvert. So like for my birthday, this will come out after my birthday, but I asked for time to sit alone quietly. Like my husband is going golfing while we're out of town. And I was like, wait, you get to be alone. I want to be alone for my birthday. And he's like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. 'Cause like I have somewhere to go. You don't have somewhere to go. And I was like, okay, then take the children away from me so that I can sit by myself and just have silence. And at this point in my life, what I'm trying to work on with that is knowing what to do in that silence that's not being productive or cleaning up or this, that, and the other, of like just the ecosystem of motherhood is difficult in so many ways. And I'm not ungrateful, but I like to be honest about how hard that can be. And you guys are both in toddlerdom with your kids too at this point. So it's cool because you can like your company birth kind of with your kids. So it gets to grow and you get to think of new things as you grow in your motherhood journey, which I think is really awesome. So that's not a question. It's just a statement.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that, motherhood has so many beautiful moments. And sometimes I tell people in public when my kids, freaking out or I've lost my mind, because let's be real, I'm not cool, calm, cool, and collected all the time. I'm like, I know that you sometimes are only seeing a snapshot of someone's life. And I always think that too, when I'm seeing like a mom at a store or like, and she's losing her SHIT. And I think to myself, I've been there. Who hasn't been there? Or like, I always try to take a moment and say like, okay, let's not judge this person, because who knows? Who knows what their morning was like and how they got to this point? And like, we've all been there where you've just had enough or you've had too much and you need a moment. And, I hope that people think that when they see a mom or something, in a location where she's having a really hard day, to sometimes even walk over and be like, I get it. Or like, you're doing great or whatever. Like, wouldn't it be cool as a society if we did things like that? I mean, I hope we get there at some point where we just accept that like people are human and moms also have emotions and bad days. Like, we're all just people. So I always try to kind of recalibrate my thinking in those moments.
Yeah, I agree. Motherhood has made me a much more compassionate person. And I've always been blunt. Shannon knows this about me.
No, she's not. Christine never says what's on her mind.
So I do think that that's served me well in terms of connecting with others, and being vulnerable. But definitely, my ability to have compassion, my ability to I am the weird one where if you have 2 kids in the store and one is losing their mind, I am literally like making funny faces, playing peekaboo. Like, I am that weird person, and I will continue to be that weird person because, moms need relief, and help and support. And so if I happen to be in a space where I can provide it, I do. One of the recent times that I did this, this is off script, Shannon, so get ready for it. I dropped off for a friend my, like, you just had a baby basket, which typically has a couple easy meals or like already made meals. and some of their favorite snacks, whatever. So this last person that I did it for, I then randomly, not so randomly, got into a conversation about postpartum sex. And both her and her husband were there. And I said, you know what? Both of you are here. I think this is a really important conversation that I have with you right now. And she is now, I think her baby's now like 8 months old. And she told me how important that was for her and how great it was for both of them to hear from me what postpartum sex can be like, and the challenges and the unrealistic timeline set by society for at least most women and their recovery journey. So that was a moment of very blunt compassion for this friend of mine as they were just in the thick of it together.
Snaps to you. And what kept coming to my mind too, as you were both talking, is what I think the most powerful thing that you're doing with this company, in my opinion, is helping women and moms feel more seen. There's a lot of the work that I'm doing with various doctors who focus on women's health, who are creating these programs for women to finally feel seen. Like, we're dismissed so often or not talked about, or it's like these secret DM conversations, and then you created a very visible company and product that not only is beautiful but allows the door to be open to these conversations, and for each person's experience, should they choose to share it, be more honest and raw and accepted and seen. Like, you're going out in the world and experiencing these people and literally seeing their journey and celebrating it. And I think that's so awesome. And I wanted to talk too about that other layer of your company that celebrates more women owners and creators, because you source only from other women, correct?
Yeah. So our whole thing, so we'll go back to the survey because I keep seeing a good theme here. So we had these, we had our value props when we decided to do the company. And we said, okay, we really want this to be women from start to finish, like the entire supply chain. We want it to be women-owned companies, we're women, shipping to women. And we were like, but this is such a niche market. Like, can we do that? And we could. And I think we did have to make some small adjustments, but not really. I mean, there's some really amazing women-owned businesses out there. And when we pitched what we wanted to do to that for them and partner with them and explain what we wanted, I mean, every single company said, we're in, we love it, let's do it. And so we wanted our company to be about supporting women from the beginning to the end and all of the stages in between. And so we felt like we couldn't display that as part of our value props unless we were living it as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And how do you logistically handle all of this? Like, when you're thinking of okay, we're going to launch this company. I'm a person who goes way too big. I make way too much food for the amount of people who come, but I would rather hedge on that end than the reverse. And you have all these education in that area, but you can never know what you're going to launch with and how many. Did you have 50 kits? I'm sure there's so many things that play into that too, and pricing and how much to buy at once. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
We started with a meeting cadence, which is that we met two times a week for hours each meeting, starting in December, with our goal to launch by Mother's Day. So, and then we made systems that helped celebrate all of our small little wins. So, one system, when you finished a to-do, it did a little firework for you. So
do you use Asana or?
We were using Trello. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, which is kind of it's almost like moving sticky notes, which I'm.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah, I'm a big sticky note person. So
big sticky note person.
Virtual sticky notes. So it was made for you.
Yes, when
exactly.
she first sent it to me, I was like, of course you wanted to use this. It has sticky notes.
So yeah, we had this shared board, and we, each time we met, we each go away with a bunch of work to do individually, and then we come back and report on how it was going. And I mean, we knew each other's strengths because we worked together for 5 or 6 years before, and have just known each other for forever, which, you know, Shannon apparently remembers the early years better than me. So we continue to play to our strengths, but we also learned more about each other, right? Shannon was so good at the product curation, at being able to dive deep into, okay, this product versus this product, here are the reviews, here's, this is the behind the scenes about the companies. And I enjoy the operational stuff. So I make our monthly financial statements and boring stuff like that. Go ahead,
Well,
Shannon.
and Christine so we did this huge work back plan. So we said, okay, here's May. What do we need to do in May? What do we need to do in April? What, et cetera, et cetera. And so we had like a set series of goals for each month. And then we kind of divide and conquer. And like Christine's saying, like, I'd never really done product curation before, but I just loved it. Like, I just ate it up. I'm like, this is amazing. And like, look at all these women-owned businesses, and like, look at how amazing these things are. And so, we just kind of divided and conquered from there. We created our logo from scratch. I mean, everything that we did ourselves to launch. We didn't outsource any of it, mostly because that's kind of how we operate. Well, and we, budget was a little bit of an issue, but we knew, hey, these are the things that we also want to spend money on. And these are the things that we can afford to do. And so like for us, we were like, okay, product photography, imagery, like those things, that's what we're an online business. So we have to do those things to sell our products. So check, we need to do that. Okay, here's our pile of money for products. Let's divide it between these boxes. And then we actually used the funds. We promoted 5 boxes, but we used the funds from our launch day to actually buy the products to launch our 5th box. So, even strategies like that, we're like, okay, let's take the funds here, but we can still, preview and post all the photos of things and then do kind of a secondary launch right after. So, we just kind of worked as we went. And we have a lot of amazing people in our community that have a lot of strengths. So we interviewed a lot of people and said, hey, what did you learn about this? And I have a good friend who's a banker. And so, we switched bankers and he helped us with that. And, Christine has a good friend that's more into like trademarking and legal. And so we had those conversations. And so we were like, we have a lot of amazing people within our community. And so let's see how we can leverage their expertise as well.
Yeah, it's somewhat of a vulnerable place to be in. When you are a person who is just a DIYer, right? Like we created our own site. Yeah, we designed our own logo. We, created our own branding guidelines, all that stuff. And so when you're in a position of reaching out and asking for help, it is somewhat of a vulnerable position, but we were like, our passion for the company outweighed the, can I be coached by you? Will you give me a coaching session? We had someone walk us through, she's in corporate, and she walked us through the unboxing experience, something we had not really thought of. What actions do you want the person to take after they open your box? How are they going to know, where the box is from, about your company, about the products in it? And so, I can remember that one of those conversations being super helpful for us and really we changed the design of the box after that. We added materials in there that we didn't have before. So yeah, those were, it seems like eons ago.
It really seems like a really long time ago.
Yeah, but super helpful for us as we were launching.
Can you speak to each one of the boxes at a high level or as much detail as you want so people understand what's in each of them?
Yeah, of course. Want to just go back and forth? So the core of our company is recovery. It was the reason that we started the company was to create a postpartum kit. So the recovery box is essentials for physical recovery. Reusable underwear, there's organic pads, there's a lip balm because my God, your lips get chapped. There's a peri bottle, there is an ice pack. All of the items in there are C-section and vaginal delivery friendly. So that was also important to us because we wanted somebody who got that box to not be like, well, what if I don't have a vaginal delivery, or what if I have a C-section? all of the items can be used for all women and in any situation. So we wanted to make sure that we curated that collection to work for them. And then there's also a great cream in there, which, hemorrhoids are a little bit of a thing. There's some other stuff going on down there. So, just kind of a collection of items that are a little bit of a jack of all trades and can be used now and then reused later. So.
And then the Pamper box is our kind of spa in the box. We would call it our utility player, meaning that it really can be gifted by anyone and to anyone. So it's, for someone who's pregnant, for someone who is postpartum, for someone who is maybe not such a new mom. So there's a water bottle, a really yummy hot cacao, like hot chocolate, bath salts, a candle. We made the scent with a local company. It was super fun working with her. So that's Pamper.
So we've got Booby. So a little bit self-explanatory on the Booby. So originally we actually had some breastfeeding items and some recovery items combined, but we know everyone's journeys are very different. And we also know women choose not to breastfeed, can't breastfeed, or it's just a really challenging experience for them that they don't want to continue. So we didn't want to put that in there and basically put any kind of pressure on women to breastfeed or not breastfeed. So this collection is really for any part of a woman's journey for breastfeeding, at the beginning, middle, or end. All of the items are great for, breast health or helping with, clogged ducts, keeping you hydrated so your milk supply can be higher. All of those kind of things are within that Booby collection.
I love that you're thinking of it that way too, because, and I've mentioned this before, I even wrote a whole blog post about it, how I didn't want to breastfeed because I was so freaked out about it. I thought it was so weird. And then Roz read, "Dude, you're going to be a dad." And he told me that the baby gets my immune system. And I'd always said, I'll try it and see how it goes. And he really convinced me. I was like, fine, I have a great immune system, so I might as well try. And it, even if it works out for you, like quote unquote, it's still hard and crazy. And it definitely worked out for me, but it was not how I would want to use my body by any means. And I still have I had some like eco-y spiral boob cooler things.
Yep.
So they're like, I don't know how to describe them, but they are little like coils.
Yeah, we have a version of that.
A similar product.
Yep.
That's what I was thinking of. So I have those still in my freezer. And sometimes I think I had I just was feeling overheated one day and I took it out and I put it on my forehead. I still use my boob coolers to give you some credit for a box that will live on forever, because every time I get them out, I smile and I put it other places on my body now because I don't need it on my boobs, but it still is effective for me, these little booby spirals.
Super tangent on that, but my son now, every time anything happens, he has an owie, he needs ice. And so the ice pack that we have in our freezer is the V-Cool Vagina Cooler. And so my 2-year-old, puts a vagina cooler on his head or his arm or his leg or whatever, and that's his ice pack. And so I'm not sure exactly that they were branding it for that, but utilitarian, works for everything.
Yes.
And that ice pack is in the recovery box.
And the ice pack's in the recovery box,
Yeah, it's nice and slim, so good for a C-section scar or down or there.
Toddler's arm, yeah.
Yes, yep. Our kind of booby coils can be heated or they can be cooled. So heated for letdown, cooled for relief. I
might have the same one because it doesn't stay cold that long, but like that initial, now when I put it on my forehead, it's very nice. And I can tell it's one of those things that could be heated up too. It seems to have beans in it.
Yes. The belly is another box that we have. Obviously, it's for those who are pregnant. And we have a support band to support that growing belly. We have a sitz bath mix. So that can be something that'd be nice. Also postpartum. But there's multiple uses for sitz bath, actually. And then we have a cream, a super amazing, like 5-star, 50,000 5-star reviews cream in there. And I'm missing one thing, Shannon.
And the tea.
Oh, the tea, a pregnancy tea as well.
And then the box that we just launched, which is like super personal to us, is called the Rainbow Box. So I'll go on a little bit of a tangent here. So we had talked about the boxes that we wanted to launch when we actually started our company. And we had actually curated additional collections that we hadn't launched yet because we had lots of goals, which we still have. And one of these was the Rainbow Box. And so the Rainbow Box is specific for women who have experienced pregnancy loss. And we had curated a collection, and then I had a pregnancy loss. So we had talked about this. We had people in our families, our friend groups, and then it actually happened while our company was live. It was last year. And that kind of modified what we wanted to do additionally. And then we also reached out to some women who had experienced that we were really close to, and we felt like we could have that conversation with, to really curate that collection. And so we went really back and forth on what we wanted. And for that, specifically, like you were saying before, Whitney, is like feeling seen. And this is a really private and personal experience. And a lot of women don't talk about it. But I think that's changing. And I think the point of this box is to make that experience for that woman feel valued and like it happened and we're recognizing it. And I think a lot of times women deal with this in the privacy of their own homes. It never gets shared. People don't even know that it happened. And it's just such a private thing that we felt so called as a company to support all of the journeys. And this is a part of a lot of women's life. And it's so common that we just felt like we had to have it as part of our collections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 1 in 8 women experiencing pregnancy loss in the U.S. So we just know, that journey towards motherhood can be so challenging. So whether it's pregnancy loss or whether it's infertility, and we wanted those people to feel like they have a warm embrace from someone who cares for them. So that's one of the items is similar to the boob tubes that we were talking about, but a wrap that can be heated. So if there is cramping, if there is discomfort, it can be used for that. If there is just a desire to feel relaxed or held but not touched, it can fill that need too. There's then a journal, a beautiful candle that is this arch, but it also looks rainbow-ish. And so, that we just launched that, the Rainbow Box, and we are proud of that. Like Shannon said, it was part of our roadmap and our goals, and now it's in the world, and hopefully, women can feel supported by those in their community and by us when they experience pregnancy loss.
What a bittersweet thing to be so close to it. I'm sorry to hear that, Shannon. And being able to channel that to use so much good, to do so much good in the world. It's just kind of crazy that sometimes you have to experience it to be even, like you said, you tweaked it based on your own experience, which is so powerful and also just awful. That's like why I talk about my dad, because it's like, okay, if I can connect to one person and make them feel a little bit better about this thing that like is so awful, then I hope that I can make their pain a little bit more like easier to endure. And like you said, the whole in good company thing, it's not a club that you ever want to be in. And then you have to be in it, and then you have to figure out how to be in it. And for me, the best way to do that as an evolved Leo is to give other people, like shine my light on other people that way and help them. Even if I'm saying like last year, not to make this about myself, but like I went to visit my dad's grave, and this is the only, like, because I haven't had a pregnancy loss, the only point of relation that I can have, but I like made this video sitting on his grave. Like I looked up and I saw this horse just running in the field right in front of me. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. Like he's visiting me. There's a little bench on his grave, so I can like see out into this field. And I made a video of that, but I was I was getting better at like protecting my energy around what I share and how much I communicate with others about that and what I hold for other people. And so I put the video up and I turned off comments and I said, if anybody wants to talk to me about like deep grief, my DMs are always open to you. But right now I just like wanted to share the video to like help you feel less alone. And it feels like a little gift that I can give without pouring too much out of myself because I'm already so worn out from it. And what I love about what you did with this too is you were already planning to do it. It was already important to you. It makes sense for the company, but you're able to give this gift to other people and share a part of yourself literally with them through this. And I just think that's so powerful. And my point in sharing my stuff is that I didn't know how open to be and I wasn't comfortable with how much I could take in from other people and what I could hold for them. All I knew is that I can give them this gift if they've felt it too, and then we can talk about things. But what I didn't want to deal with, and what you might not have wanted to deal with like publicly sharing a pregnancy loss, is just like those flat, like, oh, I'm so sorry. Because even I said it, like, we don't know what to say. And I didn't want to have to respond to that. You know, I didn't want to be like heart, or just seeing them in general. I would feel pulled to give them something back. And so I just put it out there mostly for me and then said, hey, if you ever want to talk like about your experience, like I'm always here. So it's cool that you can just give that gift, you know, what I don't have a dead dad box to send.
Yeah. And I think to like your point, I think for me, it was about acknowledgement. And I think it wasn't necessarily about how it happened or like the specifics of what happened, or it was just people acknowledging that it happened. And I did wait a while. I did share it fairly publicly. And I went so back and forth on doing that. But to me, it was like, this thing happened in my life. And without acknowledging that it happened, it seems like I'm a very transparent person. I feel like I share lots of myself, and like this is a part of myself and my family. And so it just felt like having that acknowledgement. And for me, it's like saying something is always better than saying nothing. That's my own personal opinion. I think there's obviously wrong things to say, but I think most people get it right in the sense of like reaching out to someone or saying something to acknowledge this experience is really, really powerful. And I think that was what was ultimately when we revamped the box and kind of went back to it. It was like, let's make this about acknowledging the experience and acknowledging the existence and acknowledging that this person is not alone.
Yeah, that's an incredible gift to give to people. And I would think too, again, going back to the logistics that always freak me out, like if this happens with somebody, are they expediting those boxes? Because just thinking of how long, like, I mean, it's an experience that is a few weeks, maybe. It lingers, but like the actual physical stuff, I would think that people are like, oh, this just happened. I need to get to this box to my friend like ASAP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did. That was part of the adjustment that we made because we decided this may happen, you know, let's call it day one. This may happen day one, and you may not tell a soul until day 20. And because maybe you're just, you know, coming to terms with it, or you're just now ready to share or whatever. So what are items that we could provide that are going to show support, that are going to show love, but don't have to be timely? And we are in the process of making something that would support them through the physical experience that they're going through. So that is also part of, as we expand, that's another box that's coming. But this one, we wrestled through that in conversations together and with those other women we were able to talk with, and decided that it would be best if these didn't really have a shelf life, and still could acknowledge and provide that love and support.
And one of the things that we found out too, was that one of the pieces of feedback from women that we had talked to was having a place to write and having a place to feel like you had a safe space to just write your thoughts or share it. And I think that can be so cathartic. Like I've actually written this blog for In Good Company, which I haven't even posted yet. But a huge part of that was just getting something on paper and like writing it out. And even if it impacts one person or 0 people or 2 people or 2,000 people, it's cathartic for the person having the experience. And I think that was really important to us, to have like a journal or something in there where women felt that they had a place to express themselves.
Yeah. I was just going to comment on the journal. I think that's such a smart thing to include, just even if they don't use it, knowing that it's there, because not everybody is a journaler, but they could draw a picture, they could just doodle, they could spend, like I was mentioning, spend time by themselves, really just feeling the weight of this being available to them and knowing that somebody is there considering their experience, which on its own is incredible. I want to ask, because I know that you have other jobs too. Obviously you're moms and you have this company. Like, what's your dream for your careers and your lives and this company?
Go for it, Christine.
Sure. So Shannon and I both currently have day jobs on top of motherhood, on top of In Good Company. And I think that's because we have taken the approach. I remember us having this conversation. Okay, I think we're going to have to nurture this baby and grow it. And so that's why we currently, 1 year in, are still doing the balancing act, which I think, many entrepreneurs do. And, but yeah, we have big visions. We have, and I think us chatting about those is so important to manifest. And that's really how it all started, right? Was these hallway conversations in our day jobs about starting a business and how we'd be great business partners, etc. And now those conversations are like, okay, so when we're on the Today Show, this is how
and that's
go.
Me saying those things, because Christine, what do you call me?
You're the dreamer.
I'm the dreamer.
Realist. Yeah.
So to that point though, you should look up the women who own Levant, and they are local to Seattle. Do you know them?
No.
They're plant-based cleaning products, and they are 2 moms who started their company the same way. They were like best friends. They met at a wedding when their bellies bumped into each other at the bar, and they were the only ones not drinking. And they are in Goop. They have the most beautiful branding in the world. They're like legit friends with Gwyneth now, and they exploded their company in the past 2 years. They are incredible. So, and I kind of know them, so I can make an intro for you too. But when they were coming out, I found out about them through the women who own Busy, because they're friends, and they were on their podcast, RIP. That I was like, oh my gosh, these women are so cool. And I started ordering all their wipes. And one of the things that really resonated with me, speaking of like, they were people who wanted to do something together, and they were talking about ideas forever. And then they have, I think, like 5 or 6 kids between them. And these wipes that they were using on their kids' stuff on the floor, their dog couldn't even walk on it, because there's a warning on the label of like the Clorox wipes or whatever. They can absorb through their pads on their feet the chemicals, and they can be toxic for these dogs. So they're like, why would I use something on my child that I can't even use on my dog? And I love my dog a ton. So anyway, they created the most bougiest, beautiful plant-based cleaning products on the planet. And I'm sure that's their new tagline after this, which they don't. I'll send it to them. But they're really fun. And I want to have them on here too. Very similar ethos to what you're building as well. And they're in Capitol Hill. So, and I think they have like an office and maybe a new little storefront, but I've been meaning to visit them. And they're just like the coolest, most fun women ever. And very similar dreams. And I think they're going to meet Oprah soon. So dreaming big is not a problem.
I think
and you should.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Oh, I was just going to say, like, for me, it's like there is no ceiling. Like, I think this is fun for us. Like, we love doing it. We're passionate about it. Like, the goal is for us. I mean, this is what I always say, and Christine always like kind of laughs at me, but like, I want this to be a lifestyle. So I see this outside of just boxes. Like, we see this as having like this really beautiful mental health component. And like, we want to translate it outside of just product based. Like, that is kind of our goal. We have like a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 kind of a thing. But, you know, we see this being a lot larger and being, again, about a community, like about a community of women supporting women. And like, how can we do that? And it's more than just products and boxes. For us, that was what we wanted to start with and like what we could do. And so that will be a core of our company, but we see it really, really progressing.
Yeah. You're so smart about how you're thinking about this. Like, you're like, or Roz says, have a plan. You need a business plan. You actually have a business plan. I'm like, don't tell me you have a business plan.
We do. That was what Christine made us make on day one.
Yeah.
Okay, here's our business plan. I downloaded this template and like, we're creating this. I'm like, okay, here we go.
The template is good. I like the template. Just creating it out of nowhere. I'm like, no, don't tell me to slow down to create that. But that's part of my human design, which I'm now owning. And I'm like, you can do the business plan and I'll like input parts of it and then run it past me and I won't even look at it again.
Yep, divide and conquer.
There's other things that I'll do and look at. This is so awesome. I want to do our not so rapid rapids. You probably know them. I hope you didn't
No, I don't.
Prepare in advance.
No, did not prepare.
Good. What are you proudest of in your business right now?
The rainbow box.
Ditto.
I love that. Tell us about a book you read or a podcast you listened to recently that changed the way you're thinking about your life or your business. They're thinking, their eyes are to the sky, like, what?
Well, I'm going to be real honest. I don't read a lot. But I think for me, I'm going to make this a little bit larger than your question, but the pandemic actually really changed my opinions on what I wanted out of my life and becoming a mother and like my goals and aspirations. So it really forced me to look inward.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great.
I read a book listened to, I'll just clarify. It's
you can still say it's reading, but it's great to be honest about the format that you consumed your media.
Yep. It's by Tabitha Brown. It's Your Business. That's Your Business. Anyways, she is someone who got famous off of like making a vegan sandwich at Whole Foods, something like that. Anyways, I listened to her book and it just talked about really focusing on what you want and driving towards that goal. And in doing that, you are going to like spread joy. You're going to share your superpowers. Like all of this good is going to come from that instead of continually looking like in the periphery and spending energy worrying about other people and their journeys and all of that. And so that was a good one for me.
Yeah, that's such a good gut check too, to like, speaking of being seen, for somebody to like encourage you to keep looking forward and move forward and not play the comparison game at all, because it really is like, for a long time I always thought of like, especially after college, I was like, oh, look at what they're doing with their life, and like, why do they want to go do that when they could be doing this? And I like thought a lot about other people's lives, and I was like, I just need to keep looking forward for my life. And it's easy to be like, especially when I was at an agency and we were all at the same level and then other people were getting promoted and you weren't. And it was like this kind of mind game in a lot of those types of jobs. Something like that is always really powerful, because especially when you're not in an environment that allows you to really look forward and there is a lot of comparison happening, you have to work harder to get out of that. So I just love stuff like that. You know, I love my books.
I was gonna say, I'm reading Crazy Rich Asians. So, I mean, there's themes in that, but it's not going to be the same.
Yeah. The Netflix show, not Crazy Rich Asians, but what is the Bling Empire? Yeah. Is that the one? That was pretty good. What would your last meal be?
Sushi, and a lot of it.
Oh, Thai food.
So good. What from the Thai food place?
Ooh, I do a combo. Like I definitely have some curry in there. Pad Thai probably, but Pad Thai is not usually my fave. A little pad see ew perhaps, some soup. Now you're making me hungry. Yeah, love Thai food. Love Thai food.
Have you two been to Isarn Kitchen?
Mm-mm.
Isarn Soul Kitchen in either Kirkland by the water or up in Linwood? The best. And they take really great care of kids too. They have an awesome kids menu.
Oh.
And it's like country Thai food, and it's our most favorite place to get Thai food.
Okay, well, I'm going to this place.
Check it out, because it's not like the typical stuff. They have that stuff too, but it's just fantastic all around. We always order something new to try, and their crab fried rice is to die for.
My mouth is watering.
And the kids will love like the fresh young coconuts too. So you can get the fresh young coconut, and it's like super hydrating for them. And if you have kids who aren't super pro water, it makes them really want to drink basically extra hydrating water. What is the best business purchase you've made in the last 6 months under $100?
Paper cutter.
Yeah, I was going to say the extra paper cutter. I have a real issue with scissors. It's an actual thing. I have a real hard time with scissors, and we were just doing a lot of cutting. So really needed a paper cutter.
Yeah. And then you have paper cutters. I can't keep those things straight. So the paper cutter like helps me a little bit, but I also think it's because I'm a left-handed person, and they're like made for right-handed people. And I don't typically stay in the lines except when I'm coloring. I do some adult coloring sometimes.
Yeah, I love adult coloring.
That would be a really great insert for your box. That little Bipsy, she does coloring books with the lady who does her designs. I'm just giving you ideas.
Yeah, that's a great.
Yes,
I totally know what you're talking about.
What is lighting you up lately?
I'm focused on being joyful. I'm focused on lighting a candle each morning. And trying to center myself and have a grateful heart, and live more balanced. So that's what's lighting me up. Did it today, and in anticipation and excitement for this.
I think just like being intentional, and like one thing my husband and I have been talking about doing is like, if we want to do something, go do it. Or like, if we're interested in this, let's go try it. Or, just like taking more, it could be small things, but just like being intentional about what we do, but not like overthinking it to the point where we're like, we don't want to do this anymore because now we've, thought about it for too long and we've built the pros and cons list. Like, let's just go for something. So.
Yeah, that's so important. And it seems to be a focus of a lot of people lately too, and in a really positive way, where people are just like, this is my life and this is what I want, and I'm not going to explain it or justify it to you anymore. And I speak for myself there as well. Our last question is, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find us online at www.youringoodcompany.com. All one word. You can also find us on Instagram at your.ingoodcompany. YOURE.
Yes. Oh, my grammar loving heart. Do you have to explain that to
all
people?
The time.
Oh, that's gonna.
I actually thought about buying the URL that's spelled incorrectly. So I've looked at that, because you would not be surprised. But there's happens all the time.
You should do that with a redirect. Does somebody have it?
It was owned, so I was trying to buy it. But yeah, that was my plan, is by the misspelled URLs to send them to our
people. It's YOURE.
So maybe if we teach them nothing, we just give them a quick grammar lesson on the way to our company.
Yes. Oh, you're speaking to me. Well, thank you, Shannon and Christine. I'm so excited about your business. I'm so glad that I could kind of help from the beginning. I felt very honored when you reached out to me, Christine. And now to see you out here and doing all this good in the world, it just fills my heart. And we are so excited to share your story. So thank you for taking the time to speak to me/us. I carry Emily in my heart. And we will see you next time.
Yes, thank you. We were honored to be asked. So really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
This episode's music was provided by Sloan Best.
And editing provided by Kayla Shoup.